All right, so I am continuing here with how to work with regular education teachers. Mr. Addis did mention that it's important to be a general resource. Mrs. Russell said that it's important to communicate all conversations with the regular education staff and supervisor, verifying if both parties are understanding things clearly. She communicates with both. She's kind of a go between, but she wants to be sure that she is really effective in that role. Mrs. Wilson said it's important to work with the principals to see that um, they have the support and then help them understand those accommodations. Emphasize the value of the expertise in the content area. She was talking about inclusion and really trying to keep kids in there with the teachers who have an expertise in science or math or reading, and the special education teacher or paraprofessionals can be in there as a resource and an expert in the accommodations and modifications that need to be made. And then she said that sometimes you do just avoid situations that you know will fail. Advice for a first year administrator, Mr. Addis said, and Mrs. Russell said it's very important to come in, listen, and learn from your building and from your staff before you make any changes. Important to build those relationships before you start changing things, even if you envision them differently. And Mrs. Wilson said, to keep a diary or calendar of all events, like even the little things, fire drills, interviews, things like that. Then you can reflect and remember, like, how did I fit all of those things in, and when was a good time to do this or a bad time. So she kind of liked that and found that very helpful. She also said find a good mentor in a similar situation with a lot of experience, someone that you feel safe to talk to, that you can be honest with. And do you really go to every IEP meeting or things like that? That's what she was saying, those kinds of questions that you want to ask. And then she said also, don't kick yourself if you're making mistakes. Admit to those mistakes and then work to improve. The role of the special education teacher and the building principal, Mr. Addis said that the role of the teacher is to provide the best possible individualized services. Mrs. Russell said lesson planning and then instructing, educating, and preparing those paras. And then Mrs. Wilson said it's important to advocate for the special education students, support the students and teachers, be a go between for the parents and the administration, manage the paras and the scheduling. That was really important. And then always focus on the student as a priority. For the role of the principal, Mr. Addis said to support constructively. For example, enable him when he's on the right track and place limits on him when he's not. And then just be open and available as a resource. Mrs. Russell said to support and guide the teachers, be professional and open minded, and then provide the materials that are needed. Mrs. Wilson said it's important for the principals to advocate for all students as a manager for the whole building, and then to understand, though, that your special education students and staff may take up more time, and then be a support system for the teachers. Have their backs, have those special education teachers' backs when needed. Oftentimes, maybe when general education teachers are complaining. Characteristics to seek in aspiring administrators. I really found a lot of similarity between their answers here, in that um, the desire to see the kids succeed, that compassion or passion for helping kids learn. Some experience with working with students with special needs was noted as well. And then the ability to trust teachers, no need to micromanage, that just being authentic and honest and building trust. And Mr. Addis pointed out that many students can see through the inauthenticity even before adults can. Mrs. Russell noted a great sense of humor is helpful in dealing with some difficult situations. And then being a good manager of people, of materials, of finances, and consistent communication, all of those things were important. And just to focus in on Mrs. Wilson again, when she said, the desire to see kids succeed has to be number one. She said that we can teach the laws, we can teach the rules, we can teach a lot of other things, but we can't teach people to like people and to want our children to succeed. Projections looking ahead at how this may impact me as a future administrator. I think that my experience in a variety of special education settings will be an advantage for me because I do feel like I have a strong understanding and a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge in this particular area. And I have had to collaborate, and I shouldn't say had to, I get to collaborate and work with a lot of other teachers in a lot of different settings, a lot of different kinds of students. And I think that will be an advantage for me. And then just leadership qualities that were mentioned by each of these three people that I talked with, the passion and compassion, a strong understanding, management skills right now. I work with students in 5 buildings, and one alternative location. So I have a lot of staff members that I'm working with. I'm managing schedules for 4 people that work in our program and doing lesson planning for all of that. So I think I have some experience there. And then consistent communication, I also have to do that in my particular role. So I feel like I do have some of those leadership qualities that they mentioned. And then experience supervising and evaluating staff and through collaboration. I have that in my current role as well. So I think that that will be really helpful. I wasn't really surprised by any of the answers that these 3 people mentioned, just because I work with them daily and I feel like we share a lot of similar philosophies. And then the standards that I feel like were addressed in these particular situations are listed there.